How do electric eels manipulate their victims? What makes a capybara one of the most fearless creatures in the world? What trickeries do spiders go for so as not to be eaten by females? You'll learn this in our episode. Today, I'll tell you about incredibly strange animal behavior. Manipulator eels. What do you think is meant by this phrase? Maybe that males or females are too violent with each other during mating games? As strange as it sounds, it had better be. In fact, electric eels have learned to manipulate their victims. And they do it in such a cool way that they can control several creatures at once. You don't believe me? Then watch this video and be horrified by what electricity can do. As scientists have found out, these fish produce 3 types of electrical discharges: low-voltage pulses to probe the environment, short bursts of 2 to 3 millisecond pulses that eels fire during hunting, and high-frequency, high-voltage volleys used to capture prey and defend against enemies. In our case, Electro from the fish world probably used the first and second methods. However, it's still unclear to experts whether the discharges influence on muscles themselves or on the motor neurons controlling the muscles. It's funny, by the way, that people used to think otherwise. They watched this show from 2 fish and they thought that they passed each other the prey in the face of the eel. Say one fish cannot digest such a large enemy, so it shares its prey with her brother. Although, if you understand the question, it becomes clear that the first version is almost unrealistic. Not that large fish, but even giant alligators are not able to overcome the electric eel. Even if they grab it with their sharp teeth and send it to glory, the eel will take the offender with itself. A defense mechanism is triggered, and the electricity will not release the one who clung to the host. In short, messing with this creature unnecessarily is definitely not worth it. Although it looks harmless, it can do a lot of damage. What cannot be said about this caterpillar that lives on a completely different principle? By itself, it's harmless. No more or less large predator will not be able to oppose anything at all. But it looks very frightening. Yes, you don't think so? This caterpillar can pretend to be a full-fledged snake from an early age. In times of danger, it clings to a tree with its hind legs, and it lifts its upper body. Then this cunning creature inflates, and its raised part acquires a triangular shape, resembling the head of a snake with large eyes and shiny scales. To make it more convincing, it even begins to make a slight rocking back and forth, imitating the readiness to attack. Of course, most predators decide to retreat, and this is a perfectly understandable and correct decision. Even I, a man who understood what was going on, felt some discomfort. I looked at the caterpillar and I assumed that it could bite like a snake, and animals are scared. You know, in the case of this actress from the animal world, it's even a bit of a pity that it'll turn into a butterfly, and its amazing skill will be irrevocably lost. Although, maybe people have not yet realized all the peculiarities of this creature. Maybe a butterfly can turn into, I don't know, a hungry eagle with long claws? That'd be fair. Fearless capybaras. I'm sure that many of you will think that this phrase is some kind of a joke. I mean, it doesn't happen in life. How can a capybara be fearless if it's a very cute and kind animal that cannot offer the enemy any repulse? And who says that a capybara has to know how to fight? What if it's psychic? There's a reason why our next guest is considered strange. It can easily be seen on the same shore with predatory reptiles or with some animals that are several times larger than itself. It seems that the capybara is incredibly stupid and indiscriminate, looking for friends and those in whom they should not look for them. But in fact, everything is exactly the opposite. This mammal can find out when someone is going to eat it, and it'll just pass by. How exactly it does this, scientists do not fully know, but the fact remains. Thus, the capybara keeps a variety of animals around. Each of them is useful for it in its own way. The larger ones chase away potential enemies, and small creatures give capybaras spa treatments as a sign of gratitude. You might ask, thank you for what? Well, for alerting them in danger, of course. Capybaras are constantly in contact with their relatives. They guard the situation. And if one of the animals learns of impending danger, It will warn not only the other capybaras, but also the animals that rub near them. Simply put, this cooperative lifestyle is beneficial for everyone, even for reptiles that can sometimes approach a capybara for warmth. Saculina. Remember this word, it's the name of a horrible genus of barnacles. Why horrible? Because they're parasites. Here, take a look. This is what a random sea creature looks like to whom our guest attached itself. To some, it might seem like it's one creature altogether, just with a slightly strange outgrowth. Alas, it is not. To understand the behavior of these creatures, I suggest that we should start from the very beginning. So the parasite comes into the world. It leaves the native egg, and it goes on a free voyage, counting on a favorable course. It's not much of a plan, you'd agree, and the Saculina itself realizes it too. So it decides to take everything in her brazen hands and get a bivalve shell to enter the adult stage of her existence. After that, the most interesting part begins. If the larva is a female, then in order to survive, it needs to find and fix itself on its future host, that is, on the crab. Before penetrating into the victim's body, the lady gets rid of almost the entire torso, leaving only one sharp spike. It'll be useful inside the host. With its help, the Saculina will be able to drill the soft tissues of the poor guy. And if you've already imagined how it pierces a mini cave there, you can forget it. Everything happens even stranger. The Saculina enters the victim's body without legs, abdomen, or even a head. It sends its cells into the crab that begins to divide and form a full parasite body. This way the female will penetrate every limb, antenna, and eye of the host. Seizing complete control over the unfortunate crab is not enough for our guest. The Saculina also deprives the animal of the joy of reproduction. That's where the males come in. As you'll remember, all this horror happens on behalf of the female. The male lives in a different way altogether. Its goal in life is not to find a suitable crab, but to find a female who's already germinated into their future and common victim. It'll penetrate the chosen one, it'll gain a foothold there, and it'll lose almost its entire body as well. From now and forever, it will live with the female. It'll feed off the crab, and it'll supply the female with everything she needs to reproduce. What's even sadder, when the time comes for the offspring to appear, the crab will think that these are its cubs, and it'll seriously begin to take care of them, changing in behavior. Leave us a like if you feel sorry for these crabs too. Unfortunately, the Saculina is far from the only unusual parasite. There are many more in the world. For example, the woodlouse. Its behavior, as well as that of its victims, will seem even more contradictory. The name of this creature derives from being often found in old wood. It enters through the gills of its target and attaches itself to the base of its tongue. Afterwards, the creature sucks the blood using the claws at its front that causes the tongue to atrophy due to lack of blood. Do you think that the next stage is for the parasite to leave the victim and move on to a new one? No, that'd be too easy. Our creature shows mercy, and it nobly replaces the poor guy's tongue. The woodlouse attaches its own body to the muscle in such a way that the fish can now use it in the same way as a normal tongue. Apparently, the parasites caused no other damage to the host, and many victims are not aware that they're being parasitized at all. The fact is that some of the food is lost and the forces can lack. However, no one really cares about it. By the way, the woodlouse does not break away from its victim for a moment. Reproduction also takes place inside. Eggs are laid in a special pocket in the abdomen of the female, and already hatched babies leave the house and they go in search of their personal shelters. Yes, as you've already realized, I propose to take a little breath and look at a touching photo from a subscriber. According to the man, this is his new pet, a dog that doesn't have a name yet. The wife of the subscriber suggests that they should name their new dog Cosmo, but the man's confused about something. Write your ideas in the comments. Maybe the couple will choose one of the names. Let's continue the theme of something nice and talk about unusual care from the feathered ones. What do you think mothers are willing to do for their cubs? Someone will use penguins as an example, how they incubate their cubs, how the female and the male alternatively forage for food, with the second one sitting and warming up the baby. Take it from me, all of this pales in comparison to hornbills. These are creatures that do things that are incredibly hard to believe in. Just think about it. A male takes his darling and pregnant female to a tree where he made a hole. He forces her inside and he concretes her from the outside. It sounds rather bleak and sad. It seems that the male has simply decided to leave his family behind. However, this is not the case. Pretty soon the family's back together, all its members are happy, and most importantly, free. But what was it for? It turns out that this unusual behavior of feathered birds is their secret method of raising offspring. The male does not brick up his family intentionally. He leaves them a small slit, and he regularly brings food through it. Both the cubs and the female are completely happy with this, so no predators can get to them at all. And also, according to experts, if something happens to the male, the female can personally make a hole and go out together with her chicks. As soon as the baby grows up, the male himself will open the way to a bright future. Well, afterwards, he'll start producing offspring again. And how female hornbills agree to such a life. A bower bird is another thing. This feathered bird's house doesn't look like a prison. On the contrary, it looks extremely original and stylish. It becomes even hard to believe that it was created by such a small creature. The construction of the future house is done by the male. Inspiration comes to it at the beginning of the breeding season. Coincidence, you ask? Of course not. Any zoologist will answer you. The bird descends to the ground and it starts dragging absolutely everything in sight. It'll build a tent out of twigs. It'll stain them with berry juice, it'll spit fruit to serve as a gorgeous decoration, and it'll bring in all sorts of things from people that tourists accidentally lose or throw away in the woods. Many winged creatures, by the way, are so eager to build the most beautiful and stylish house that they'll go to theft, vandalism, and other performances just to stand out from the crowd. Time will tell, this is almost the most important thing. Otherwise, the female may not pay attention and all the work will go down the drain. And this is very unfair. All the miracles that the birds create with their small paws deserve everyone's attention. Sly spiders. Why do you think I call them that? No, they don't go for any kind of thievery like bower birds that we just talked about. Spiders, as it turns out, are capable of more than that. And it's all for the right to life, or more specifically, to keep the female from eating the male after mating. But before I tell you about the strangest patterns of arthropod behavior, let's understand why females eat males. Are they overly jealous or perpetually hungry? Actually, neither. It's just that spiders are naturally prone to cannibalism and males are much smaller than females. So the mother-to-be finds it a good reason to feed. Why not eat a fellow spider when it's practically in her clutches? And anyway, she's a mother. Even if she's a mom-to-be, this means that her strength will never be superfluous. And everything would be fine, but males are alive too. They have their own plans, and that obviously does not include them becoming lunch of their beloved. That's why male spiders have come up with a lot of effective ways. Each of them is good in a particular situation. The simplest way is to present the lady a gift. It's not about jewelry, of course, but about food. If she's well-fed, then there will be no room for bad thoughts in her head. By the way, some males have gone even further in this regard. They take and wrap their own feces in random leaves. While the female will unwrap the gift after mating, the male will have time to escape. This means that he'll continue his lineage, he'll stay alive, and he'll save food for himself. Other spiders, such as male black widows, take advantage of the inexperience of young ladies. They specifically choose young females. The chance to escape from them is much higher. Well, the spiders turned the game upside down, and they became too small for the females themselves. Literally, it's almost impossible to catch them, as in some cases the males weigh dozens of times less than their female counterparts. Other spiders realize that their size is not small enough. The female they're in a relationship with is experienced, and therefore you have to come up with something trickier. So they use a web cable as their insurance. As soon as mating is over, the males jump off the female and they fly down to the ground. The webbing, if anything, acts as a rope. Well, those spiders who are too afraid of heights and do not believe in a successful jump do even more unusual things. They tie a female's legs together with a web. Once she agrees to this, it's unclear. Another option, by the way, is to inject the lady with a small dose of poison. Sounds unrealistic. However, certain spiders do indeed do this as well. Due to the fact that the lady will feel slightly intoxicated, She'll not have enough agility, speed, and strength to catch and eat the male. Therefore, he will successfully leave her dwelling on his own feet. Scientists believe that there are other ways of survival in the world relating to spiders. However, we have not yet learned about them. What is the rarest spider in the world capable of? Where do blind spiders live that soon completely die out? How small can spiders be? You'll learn this and much more later. It would seem strange if rare spiders were large, not necessarily even as large as this individual, but still, at least that's what I personally believe. However, among the very rare, I would even say the rarest spiders in the world, there are some real giants. What's even more interesting, one of them was discovered recently in 2023. I'm talking about this spider, which was given the Latin name Euplos dignitas. I think you guessed the name means dignity. Well, this spider certainly deserves to be in our episode about rare spiders. After all, scientists have only seen it a couple of times. Luckily, the scientists turned out to be real pros. Even a few short encounters and a couple of photos were enough for them to describe the new species. This giant reaches 8 inches in length, which means that it's among not only the rarest but also the largest spiders on the planet. The spider itself belongs to trapdoor spiders. Like its relatives, it's able to perfectly disguise itself and be a recluse. My point is that trapdoor spiders are called so because they live in holes that are covered with trapdoors. They're homebodies. For example, females don't come out of their burrows at all, and males only come out to find another female during mating season. All the rest of the time, trapdoor spiders live in their burrows, hunt directly from them, and eat their prey there. Next, we have another extremely rare spider. However, scientists have had time to study it better, because it's been known for about 50 years. This is the Kauai cave wolf spider. It lives on the Hawaiian island of Kauai, where it can be found in caves. But it takes a lot of effort to come across this arthropod, because there are few Kauai cave wolf spiders. At the moment, scientists know only 6 populations of these spiders. In caves, these spiders feed on amphipods, which are the cave spider's neighbors. To detect amphipods, these creatures use active searching involving chemical and tactile senses. That's great, of course, but why not just use your eyes? Because the spider's blind. This rare creature has lost its eyes because eyes are useless in a dark cave anyway. Nature has compensated for the lack of eyesight with a highly developed sense of smell, touch, and hearing, which is very important in the animal world. Horrid groundweaver. Here's another rare spider, so rare that it's on the verge of total extinction. The situation of this species is quite unenviable. The horrid groundweaver is an elusive creature. It lives in Plymouth, England, in an area of less than 247 acres. It's only been found in 3 limestone quarries and 1 industrial site. Scientists have been lucky to find these creatures at all, as they're only 0.09 inches long. Since 1995, scientists have found only about 10 of these spiders, and they often find them at intervals of several years. And the first photos appeared 20 years after the discovery of the species. In short, the species is very rare, is on the verge of extinction, and it's not clear how to protect these weavers. Not only spiders are rare, but also other arthropods, various insects, crustaceans, and so on. I have a lot to say about them too. It'll be interesting. Keep watching to see colorful lobsters, a millipede that's been seen only twice, a huge bee, a dinosaur ant, and more. Tree lobster. Pay no attention to the name of this creature. It's not actually a lobster, but a stick insect. I'm sure you've seen stick insects before, but this is the first time you've seen one like the tree lobster. It's too fat for a stick insect, which is why it's named the lobster. It's also called the Lord Howe Island stick insect. These giants can reach 8 inches in length and weigh 0.8 ounces. But this is not what interests us, because the episode is about the rarest arthropods. The fact is that the tree lobster is one of the few animals that were recognized as extinct. In 1920, scientists believed that there were no more of these creatures left on the planet, and so they thought until 2001, when the species was rediscovered. After tree lobsters were rediscovered, they were given the sonorous title, the rarest insect in the world. This is most likely true, as the new population consists of only 24 individuals that lived on a small island called Ball's Pyramid near Australia. This island, by the way, is the highest volcanic cliff on Earth. But why was the species recognized as extinct? What caused it? Unfortunately, as is often the case, humans. When humans began to settle Lord Howe Island, the original home of these stick insects, they introduced various animals, at least indirectly. By 1918, this insect, unable to fly, was completely wiped out. It was simply eaten by rats, which came to the island from a shipwrecked ship. Until then, the giant Australian stick insect had no natural enemies. Colorful lobsters. Next, we have another lobster, only this time it's real and very unusual. We're used to lobsters being grayish, dark green, or brown, right? Of course, after they're boiled, they turn red. But there are also colorful lobsters, and they're absolutely amazing. There are blue lobsters, there are yellow and orange lobsters, there are even bicolored lobsters, as well as albino lobsters. To encounter such unique creatures is good luck and rarity. For example, for one blue lobster, there are as many as 2 million common lobsters, and for one albino lobster, there are 100 million ordinary lobsters. The unusual color of all these creatures is due to mutations or disease. Lobsters produce excessive levels of one pigment or another and end up being colored. In the case of albinos, the pigment is conversely absent. Unlike tree lobsters, which were quickly exterminated by humans, these real lobsters are highly protected. In North America, where they live, it's considered bad to catch a colorful lobster and boil it. It's very wrong. Fishermen consider colorful lobsters a good omen, so they usually release them back into the water. However, it's unclear whether they make them worse or better because of it. After all, the color of these lobsters is too variegated, so it's very easy for marine predators to hunt them. Colorful lobsters are certainly rare, but what about something even rarer, like an arthropod with no name? There is such a thing. I'm talking about a millipede of the rarest kind. This one. It has a Latin name, but no common name. This millipede has been seen literally a couple of times, both times in Wales. In Neath Porth Talbot, to be more precise. This arthropod is so rare and secretive that it hasn't even been named. Scientists don't even know much about it. Perhaps it's a local species which lives in a sparsely populated area, so it's almost never stumbled upon. Or perhaps the species was brought in from abroad. Scientists have yet to figure this out. Still remember the tree lobsters that were declared extinct? Well, this isn't the only arthropod with such a fate. Meet the Wallace's giant bee, the largest bee in the world, by the way. 38 years. That's how long no one's seen this bee. So it's already been recognized as extinct. At least not officially. And now, a few years ago, scientists from Australia and North America found a Wallace's giant bee in Indonesia. The bee is really huge. Some individuals reach 1.5 inches in length with a wingspan of 2.3 inches. They also have very large jaws. With their help, they collect resin and build nests from it inside termites. Termites cannot oppose such giants. And these bees also lay large eggs, almost up to 1 centimeter long. Fortunately, these arthropods are not dangerous for humans. They're not considered aggressive and very rarely attack locals. This is logical because otherwise these bees would not disappear for 38 years. If they'd attacked us, they would have been found earlier. Dinosaur ant. There's another big creature waiting for you. The dinosaur ant is nicknamed so for a reason. When people first came across it, they were frightened and gave it the nickname dinosaur. Eventually, the nickname became popular. These ants grow up to almost 1.3 inches in length. This is about 3 to 4 times the size of a usual ant. What's more interesting, this ant is about the same age as the real dinosaurs. These insects appeared in the time of prehistoric reptiles about 74 million years ago. Despite living so long, the dinosaur ant has hardly evolved as a species. For this reason, it's called a living fossil. And of course, this ant is very rare because otherwise it wouldn't be in this video. This is one of the rarest arthropods on the planet, and this is evidenced by a simple fact. Colonies of dinosaur ants total only 50 to 100 individuals. For comparison, common ants form colonies of 10,000 individuals, and sometimes even more. Accordingly, they do not need huge anthills. They simply dig a tunnel with a large gallery and live there. Dinosaur ants gradually establish settlements, preferring not to seize other animals' territories like other ants. In addition, a queen ant often inherits its colony to one of its daughters. All in all, these ants are particularly interesting and very unusual. They differ in almost everything from all other ants on the planet. Let's continue our episode with Africa's strongest and most aggressive animals and see what they can do. Gorilla. I don't think anyone would argue that gorillas are very powerful, but not everyone realizes how powerful they really are. These primates are literally made of steel muscles. The weight of the largest gorillas, mountain gorillas, can exceed 775 pounds, and much of this is due to the muscles. Using their muscles, gorillas can break even armored glass, lift and drag objects several times their own weight, and stage epic showdowns with their congeners. Gorillas mostly fight each other. The explanation is simple. They live in African areas where it's almost impossible to find other large animals. If gorillas lived in the savannah, they would certainly stage epic battles with local predators and destroy everyone. It's difficult to doubt this, looking at the footage in which gorillas demonstrate their power. In reality, apart from their congeners, gorillas can beat probably only one other large creature, a human. With an easy movement of the hand, the primate can knock a human down or drag them with them. But such cases do not often occur because gorillas cannot be called completely insane and aggressive. But this animal may be called one. All buffaloes are dangerous and aggressive in one way or another, but the African buffalo stands out the most. Locals often refer to it as the Black Death, and this is no exaggeration. Despite the fact that the African buffalo is a herbivorous animal, it very often confronts humans. Often they end badly. According to statistics, dozens of people become victims of these giants every year. Usually, buffaloes are dealt with by hunters and poachers. The weight of about a ton, sharp horns, and aggression makes these bulls extremely dangerous creatures. The participants of various safaris were repeatedly convinced of this when they had to get away in a hurry from a buffalo that chased them, and they'll be lucky if they manage to get away. Buffaloes reach speeds of up to 37 miles per hour, so sometimes they reach their targets and ram cars. Buffaloes are also very aggressive towards animals. They're not afraid of anyone, even lions. On the contrary, they dream of encountering a lion to show the predator their favorite trick, a toss in the air. A buffalo picks up a king of the jungle with his horns and tosses it several feet upwards. Many African big cats have already experienced this painful wrestling trick on themselves. Also, buffaloes can engage in a fight with a crocodile, and the latter will not always come out the winner. Buffaloes are incredibly tough. They fight to the end and often exhaust the toothy hunter so that it itself gives up. Perhaps the only disadvantage of buffaloes is their inability to work as a team. These animals sometimes don't help each other in trouble and rarely attack the same target. If they were a little smarter and behaved more cohesively in action, they'd be the most dangerous animals on the planet. Rhinos. These horned giants have one of the worst temperaments of any animal in the world. Rhinos are even more unpredictable than buffaloes. At times, they may behave absolutely normally, but you can expect to catch at any moment. The rhino goes into attack mode instantly, and it looks scary. These animals are territorial, quick-tempered, nervous, and they also have poor eyesight and fantastic mass. All this gives just an incredible mix. These living tanks run all over Africa, attacking everything. Attacking cars is their favorite pastime. When a guide sets out on safari to see rhinos, they should take care of their insurance policy beforehand, as there's a good chance they'll return home with a dented car body. Let alone cars, there are cases in history when rhinos were not afraid to attack even trains that pass through their habitat. Not only humans, but animals as well are afraid of rhinos. Perhaps only elephants feel confident being with these giants. The rhino can deal with all the others if it wants. A hippopotamus that got into the wrong area, a self-confident buffalo that decided to try its hand, a warthog that came too close, and even lions. Everybody can get under such a horned road roller. It's also not uncommon for rhinos to clash with each other. In such battles, they show themselves in all their glory. Wolverine. This animal of the compilation is literally dozens of times smaller than a rhino, but in terms of aggression, recklessness, and fearlessness, it beats even the horned giant from Africa. In a small body weighing about 33 to 44 pounds, simply unthinkable strength and courage are concentrated. A simple fact speaks about the aggression of the wolverine. It can even engage in battle with a wolf. Moreover, it's far from being certain that the wolf will win. Wolverines often injure them and put predators to flight. Only a true aggressive aggressive and fearless animal is capable of this. But in fact, these are all rare and isolated cases. It's more like a fight for territory or food. Much more often, these beasts attack other animals, but also large ones, for example, deer. Wolverines can also deal with roe deer, moose, and mountain sheep. The wolverine's tactics are pretty simple. It tracks down a prey, assesses the risks, and attacks it. The prey usually notices the danger and runs away, but Wolverine exhausts it. It has incredible stamina and quite good determination, so it runs after its prey to the end. Honey badger. This relative of the wolverine, a member of the mustelidae family, has gone even further. If the wolverine can still retreat somewhere, get scared, or not attack its opponent, the honey badger doesn't care at all who or what's in front of it. It's so reckless and aggressive that it can deal with any opponent, and this is not an exaggeration. For example, a honey badger might try to attack a lion, let alone one lion. It can attack several kings of the jungle at once. And not just attack, but frighten them and give them a scare. The honey badger has a very thick skin, which cannot always be penetrated by lions' claws and teeth, but the honey badger itself has sharp claws that can cause serious damage to the predators. A honey badger can also easily deal with a leopard or even 3 leopards at the same time. These spotted cats sometimes wonder why they can't oppose a honey badger in battle. The aggressive beast keeps pushing, stepping, attacking, and never quitting. In addition, the honey badger is not afraid of toxins. On the contrary, it loves them. How else to explain that this beast can attack and devour a scorpion? It can also deal with a venomous snake, and if it bites it, nothing bad will happen. The honey badger has an amazing immunity, so it'll just pass out, sleep for a couple of hours, and then wake up and go to take revenge on the offender. Bee venom is not a problem for it either. The honey badger lives up to its name, adoring honey. To get it, it climbs straight into the beehives and hollows and brazenly steals the products of the insects. By the way, the honey badger can also attack humans, so I advise everyone, and animals too, to stay away from such a small monster. Tasmanian devil. Not every animal is called a devil, but the Tasmanian devil fully deserves the name. It has a demonic black color. In its huge mouth, you can see sharp teeth, and the animal's scream is truly devilish, piercing, and unpleasant. This is how the aggressive beast screams if it doesn't like something or someone. It usually doesn't like it when someone trespasses on its territory. Scientists believe that the Tasmanian devil is capable of holding 9 miles of territory alone. So the Australian island of Tasmania, where the species lives, is generally unsafe. One should not think that the Tasmanian devil is only able to howl angrily. It's also dangerous to humans. In terms of mass to bite force ratio, it bites almost as hard as a leopard or a cougar. In general, you definitely shouldn't put your fingers in its mouth. However, these aggressors are used to only yelling at people, and they train the strength of their teeth and jaws on birds, amphibians, and snakes, which they eat. Cassowary. Few bird species can boast of being able to finish off even a human, but the cassowary certainly can. Its sad statistics include more than one human victim. These flightless birds are some of the largest in the world. They weigh about 130 pounds and are not much inferior to humans in terms of height. But the main weapon of the cassowary is not its size, but its claws. One of them is up to 5 inches long. In fact, this is a sharp dagger that can kill many creatures. In its normal state, the cassowary is just a beautiful bird. Yes, sometimes it can fight with its congeners or other feathered creatures, but overall, nothing special. But as soon as an uninvited guest enters its territory, the bird turns into one of the most aggressive creatures on the planet. The cassowary will kick people out of its territory, strike them with its claws, jump on them, running, and strive to finish them off at any cost. However, sometimes cassowaries themselves visit people, scaring them to death and making them scream in terror. That's it for today. What from this episode impressed you the most? Let me know in the comments, and thank you for watching.